Thank you for staying with us on Consider This. I'm Melisa, Idris, with me Sharaad, Kuttan. Here's what we want you to consider tonight. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has apologized for wearing brown face makeup at a private school gala nearly 2 decades ago. So this was in 2001. It was a yearbook picture obtained by Time magazine, which shows Justin Trudeau with skin darkening makeup on his face. And that has now caused quite the stir, Sharaad. Do you think that Mr. Justin Trudeau should be held up for something that he did 20 years ago?
Well, this is a big question, right? He does, in fact, say, I should have known better. But when you're young, you do all kinds of things. And it seems to me rather churlish and opportunistic of his critics to jump on this, something that happened 2 decades ago. Nevertheless, because he's a consummate politician, he knew not to try and defend it or bring some sort of nuance to it and talk about what was like 20 years ago and awareness about racism and so on. He just apologized. So kudos to him for knowing that actually you can't fight this by bringing, kinds of complex arguments if you're a politician.
Wait a minute.
You just apologize.
So you're saying that his critics are being unfair?
I think so. I think, in many ways, this cultural politics, which has started to trump class issues and all kinds of substantial issues. I don't say I won't sort of say that racism is not a big issue. Well, it is a big issue, and obviously in the Canadian context, it's meaningful.
Yes.
But the question is proportionality.
Okay.
How is this being treated with with a sense of proportion, perspective, or is it just people saying, well, Justin Trudeau, in fact, you would have asked for the resignation of anybody who was found to do this. Now that you're on the hot seat, you're saying, well, I'll apologize, and maybe an apology is good enough.
I have to say that, Sharaad, it was racist 20 years ago. It's racist today, right? So
yeah, but the person was young, right? And so don't people evolve, and has he learned? And as a prime minister, has he demonstrated the same attitudes that go behind a tradition of denigrating dark-skinned people, or has he in fact done quite the opposite? And shouldn't that weigh as heavily, in fact more heavily, than something he did 20 years ago as a joke?
Well, okay, so the other thing, something for us to consider tonight is, at what point do we stop digging up the past, right? So if you're a politician, if you're in the public sphere, at what point can you go back and say you are held accountable to your actions? Is it just for the time that you are within the public space?
Well, I think for the media, there is no time frame. I think they will go back to your childhood if they could.
So we've all done, youthful folly, right?
Yeah, and political rivals similarly. Why should they put a time frame and say there's a statute of limitations on folly, and we shouldn't go back beyond the time that you were 18 or whatever? It just doesn't happen because today it's so powerful as a tool to mobilize your supporters and also attack your opponents. Why would you give up that tool? It's unfortunate. I think it's very cynical, and I don't think it moves the conversation forward.
All right, there you go. Something for you to consider tonight. That's all the time we have on this edition of Consider This. We will be back with you tomorrow night at 10 p.m. I'm Melisa Idris with Sharaad Kuttan. Good evening.